It is day 7 out of surgery, and I still have no idea what I'm doing. I've been home now for about 3 or 4 days. I have gone to the gym every day. And by gone to the gym, I mean I went inside of a place that had exercise equipment and walked around for 30 minutes. While my roommate worked out with our trainer. I, at this point, cannot do any type of lifting. I try to, they tell you that you have to walk a minimum of 30 minutes a day. So I make sure that I do that at the gym. And then, of course, whatever I need to do around the house. I still cannot walk the dogs or feed the animals because bending that low to the ground is a little bit too much. Little victories. I have been able to put on my own shoes the past 2 days, which wasn't uncommon for me before, was very hard for me after. A lot of my biggest annoyances and the thing I'm having the most trouble with is now my life is almost completely centered around eating and drinking. Before, I just kind of went about my day, and if my stomach growled, my stomach growled. If my stomach didn't growl, it didn't growl, and I drank water whenever the mood struck me. Especially if I was doing homework that day, I would go all day without even more than a yogurt. It was just kind of my way. I've never really been one to focus on food, and my body was horrible about telling me when it actually needed nutrients. So now, post-surgery, in order to make sure that I get enough protein and enough liquids, I have to take a sip of something. Water, protein shake, whatever, every 5 or 10 minutes. And it is quite possibly the most annoying thing I have ever done in my life. I don't like having to work my life around, when was the last time I had a drink of water? Has it been 10 minutes? Has it been 5 minutes? How many bottles of water did I have today? Did I have 1? Did I have 2? So I worked out a system. I have to have 3 of these a day in one capacity or another. They come in all sorts of different flavors, so just 3 of those a day and 2 bottles of water. I just have 4 bottles that I just keep refilling. I personally am not very picky about my kind of water, and our tap water is perfectly fine here. But even that's been kind of hard, because if I'm watching a movie or I'm, fiddling on the computer or I'm editing a video, then it's a couple of hours between sips, and then I'm just like, oh great, now I have to play catch up. Another thing that I still haven't quite figured out is sleeping. I'm not sleeping through the night. I try to take naps, but I live in an extremely loud apartment complex with probably the worst sound installation I've ever seen in my life. So that's not really working out for me. Other than that, it really is just getting to know myself again, and I think that's the hardest part. Throughout this journey, I've been really reluctant to compare the entire journey to deciding to have another child, just because I've never had children, and I feel like making that decision or making that association wasn't something that I had the knowledge to do. But here's why I feel like that's kind of the way it is. So when the thought first pops into your head to have another kid, you do a lot of soul searching and talking to your close-knit group of family and friends, and is this really a change that I'm ready for? Is this something that I really want to do? How will my life be affected? What changes will come? And then you decide to do it, and everything's great, and you realize how much time you spend at the doctor's. You realize how much time you spend researching and reading and trying to refamiliarize yourself with the concept of going through labor and raising an infant again. Because especially if there's been a lot of time between the first child and the second child, you may have forgotten some of those things. And then you do all this planning and all this preparation and all these doctors, and you're pregnant and you have a date and everything is so exciting and you're telling everybody and it's the best thing that's ever happened. And then the day comes for you to be induced, and you are driving to the hospital, and the only thing you can think of is, oh my God, what am I doing? It's too late to back out now. It has to happen. The time for second thoughts has passed. And you're just sitting there and you're getting prepped, and you know that whatever happens in the next couple of hours, your life has changed forever. There is no going back. And whatever schedule you had is out the window. Whatever routine you had is out the window. It's now time for a whole new everything. And you've known this. You planned for it. If you're me, you planned for it. You have contingency A through D already in place, with a couple on the back burner in case anything else happens. And then it finally happens, and you're so excited, and you're so relieved, and you're very excited that you made this decision, and so far you're on board with this decision. And while you're in the hospital, the decision is wonderful. Anything you need is brought to you. The nurses take care of anything you can handle. With a child, if a kid wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning and decides it needs to eat or have its diaper changed, nurses got it. You can sleep. With me, if I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning in an immense amount of pain, nurses got it. They bring me my medicine. Everything is great. If you're hungry, they bring you food. You're hooked up to an IV bag, so you really don't even have to think about food because you got it all coming right in. No questions asked. And then you get home. And then it is on you and your support group. And that's when you realize what actually your new life is going to look like. Then, you don't have somebody who's there at 2 o'clock in the morning to take care of all the stuff you either can't or don't want to get out of bed for. You don't have somebody there who is going to answer any questions that you have or remind you, hey, it's been X amount of time since you've done this, you need to go do this. It's all on you and your support group, and it's a lot of trying to figure out your own new schedule. And then if you're like me, who is an overachiever and thinks I'm Superwoman, then decide, hey, you know what, let's just go back to the gym. I know my new regulations. I know what I am and am not allowed to do. We're just going to go back to the gym. I normally worked out 1 to 2 hours a day anyway, so it should be no problem. Just do the same thing with light weights. No. Same thing after pregnancy. You think you can fall right back into your schedule, and you can't. You're more tired than you thought you were going to be. You don't feel as well as you thought you were going to be, or you're going to. And then on top of that, you now have to learn all of these new eating habits. With a new kid, the new kid may not like this formula, may not like this food, may not have the same sleeping schedule as before. Same thing with your body. Before I went into surgery, slept through the night, definitely an early riser, no problem sleeping, noise didn't bother me. Now, after the surgery, I want to murder anybody with vocal cords after 10 p.m. And I can't sleep through the night. I wake up about 4 or 5 o'clock, 4 or 5 times every night. Typically be up 4 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Just random nonsense like that. So it's a big change. And I'm still learning what my body does and doesn't like. For example, I made Crystal Light popsicles. Because I live in Florida and it's the end of May and it's 105 degrees outside, I figured Crystal Light popsicles would be wonderful. And they are. They are so good. And before surgery, 1 or 2 a day, not that big a deal. Do it when I'm walking the dogs and it's hot outside and I don't feel like, and I need that cool down. Now they're too sweet. Now they are sitting in my freezer taking a broom because they are way too sweet and my body can't do it. My taste buds and everything just cannot do it. Similar with a new baby. Your first child may have loved Formula A. Formula A was liquid gold to them. Your second child will throw up if you even open the package of Formula A. Same thing with drinking. You know, typically, at least for me, I would just take a swig or whatever until it filled my mouth, swallow it, and move on with my day. Can't do that anymore. What's the right amount? What's too much? At what point am I too full and have to spit it out? And it's relearning a lot of things that used to just be so habitual. And I think that's the hardest part. It's just learning, you know, what are your limits? Like I said, I normally worked out 1 to 2 hours a day at the gym. That was not uncommon. I did cardio, I did weightlifting. Weightlifting now is completely out of the question. Not only because of my restrictions, but because of myself. I can't do just non-weight motions. And I will actually make another video showing you what I'm talking about with that, with all of the different exercises that I am and am not allowed to do. But even just normal body weight motions, can't do it. Forget weights. I can't finish a set of 20. My reps are like maybe 1, possibly 2. So it's a lot of adjusting and it's a lot of relearning. And I think that's been the hardest part, is to just keep reminding myself that I am a new person and that I need to give myself time to relearn who that person is, rather than trying to force this new person into my old person mold, because the whole point of the surgery was to not be that person anymore. Other than that, staples are out, incisions look good. I should be going swimming in another couple of days. I've had no drainage tubes since I've been home. I know a lot of people have asked me that question. My energy levels are all over the place. 1 minute I'm like ready to go and dancing and singing, and the next minute I need a nap. I get dizzy very quickly. Very quickly. I was surprised about that. And this may be TMI. If you're squeamish, you might just want to fast forward another minute or two. I poop once every couple of days, and it's like an infant. It's horrendous. And I think that's also another thing I thought was shocking, because I never, ever got the memo that even that most basic function of my body was now not only going to be limited, but unbearable. Surgeon says it's normal, still healing, blah, 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 because it is only 7 days out. I'm a very impatient person, but I guess new Kelly gets to learn what patience means. Not like I got a choice, because if I push it, my body rejects it, and then I'm right back in the hospital. But I am getting on a routine. I am drinking and eating and all this other stuff, and hopefully everything will kind of fall into place and my routine won't be such an aggravation pretty soon.